ready, Ainsley?
I think we still don't have quorum, so I don't know if we can vote on anything yet. We're just waiting for one more person, but I was wondering if maybe we wanted to go to the other member or the other items on the agenda.
Let's go to the other stuff, and hopefully people will join us. So we can't approve the discussion of minutes either. I guess we can talk about rescheduling the July meeting, but I don't know. We got to get a quorum here going. So let's go to the announcements. Sign-ups for the visits. So they're all in July. You want to talk about that, Ainsley?
Yeah, so we've been working with Danielle Cox. Oh, now we have quorum. There we go. We've been working with Danielle Cox in order to schedule visits to correctional institutions. So we've got 6 different facilities that we are going to visit. So MCTC and RCI, July 14th from 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. JCI and MCIW, July 29th, 10 a.m. to 12:30, and then ECI East and West, 10 a.m. to 12:15 p.m. on July 30th. There is a sign-up link if you want to join these visits. They're limited to 10 people. The sign-up link I just put in the chat, or you can also click on the announcement of correctional institution visits in the agenda that was sent out, and I'll send it in an email as well. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask me or Danielle, and we look forward to those visits.
Okay,
and
great.
Really quick, Steve, if I can say, with like Hagerstown, we'll go to like one for an hour and then hop over. It's right across the street to the other one, have about a half an hour to get through security, and then an hour for the tours. Same with JCI and MCIW, they're right across. And of course ECI, it's you just walk across the thing. So the times might be a little, depending on how long it takes us to get through security. We'll make sure 10 o'clock is the actual like start time of the tour. So we'll let you know, like, you need to be there, earlier than that, and all that good stuff. So once we get everybody signed up, Ainsley, I think we'll set up a time everybody has to sign up by, because we've got to start doing all the checks and all that good stuff. So we'll let you know.
Okay. And for those who are just wondering how far they are, I mean, Danielle can give you a better, but I used to travel from Columbia, or that's about the same as Baltimore, to Hagerstown. And I could be there in a little over an hour and 10, somewhere, depending on traffic. MCIW, JCI are pretty close east of Columbia. ECI, east and west, you better allow yourself 3 hours to get out there, right? Especially this time of year.
Yeah, depending on where you live, like Baltimore's usually about, and traffic and stuff. You go early in the morning, 2.5, something like that. But I would say, we got to limit it. We have 10 people per tour, but if I can ask you to only sign up for like one of them, or one day, right? Like, so if you want to come to the Hagerstown MCTC RCI one, just so we have enough room for other people who would like to go to other ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there are regulations that they've sent out about how you dress, what you can bring in, what you can't bring in, etc. So you're not going to bring in bottled water and things like that. You're just bring a lot of stuff they have lockers for, so you can stick your personal, like your purse and stuff, in lockers, right? Isn't that right, Danielle?
Kind of.
Kind of.
Like, you can't bring like a phone in and put it in a locker, or like a smartwatch, something like that. Like, I mean, there are lockers at some facilities that you can put like a coat in and stuff.
Better to leave stuff in the car.
It's better, yes. Keys and wallet. That's it. With your ID.
Okay.
Your ID and your keys. That's the best way to do it. Yeah.
Good advice. Okay. So we should get started.
I think Karen Karen, did you have a question about the tour?
Karen's on silent right now.
Oh, you're muted.
I think Karen is one of the view-only participants.
Oh,
She may not be able to
Okay,
speak
we
up.
We can
Wait a
put
minute,
the-
I think it, do you have my sound now? I think
There
you
we
pulled
go.
me up to being normal. Okay, I think you started to answer it. I mean, I have been, to all of our institutions at one point in time, so, is there any like background that we're gonna have to do ahead of time, or is there a particular amount of time that we should, plan on as far as, because I know it can take a little while to get in. I've gotten in there. I have a state employee ID, so I don't know if,
yeah, like because it's a tour, we've got to have everybody go in one time. So like we will let you know, like they all start at 10, so we will tell you to arrive at 9 so that we can get everybody in through security and checked in and all, so that we can actually then start, because the tour has to start at 10 a.m. So that
Okay,
way we can go walk down and all. But yeah, we'll let you know all that stuff. Yes, you will have to do a little background. We'll get all that information from you. I'll work with like Ainsley to get all that information from you.
that's why you gotta sign up ahead of time so that you can have time to check on all that stuff.
Yeah, the first one's July 14th, so we'll probably need all the sign up stuff by June 14th, because I need to start doing all those checks.
Okay, so is there a deadline as shown there, Ainsley, for signups?
I'll put one.
Put one up, yeah. If it need a month to get through all that stuff, let's make sure people sign up by. Okay. Terrific. Good question, good answer.
and can we have our staff come as well?
We only have room for 10 people, so one
Yeah.
person representing, like a delegate or yourself. I mean, you can, yeah, you have, and check that out with Danielle, since she's closest to the sign in, and then it also depends how many people sign up. I mean, ECI, a lot of people might not want to go out that far, so might only have, might have less sign up, but I'm hoping we'll get a full crowd of 10. Okay. All right. Can we jump to the minutes now? And good morning, everybody. Welcome to the official commission meeting. I'm really pleased to have everybody here today. Only commission members can speak except for Judy Lichtenberg, who is chair of the stakeholders group and has done a lot of work with Long. And Andrea, of course, is on the commission, so she was also the head of a group. Diana Bailey, we were going to let her talk, but she has a conflict today. She's out of town. So if we do get career tech questions, we'll do our best to answer them. Okay. So to the minutes. I hope everybody had a chance to check the minutes. Are there any corrections? Are there any additions? I don't want to go through the whole thing. I have to presume maybe that people have read them. So I'll give you a minute or two to look at this stuff, and then if not, then we'll ask for an approval. While you're doing that, back to Karen's thing. Karen, you're representing Delegate Simpson. That is, the question is to Delegate Simpson's. I think it was Karen who asked the question before about people who can go in this tour. You're representing Delegate Simpson, right?
Are you referring to Karen Esterick?
Well, which Karen? Because I had Karen Esterick, and then there was another Karen because I saw two Karens on my screen. Are they the same?
All right, I'm the delegate. I do have a staff person.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Jocelyn. I don't think she's on this
Delegate
call.
Simpson. I'm sorry. I didn't know your first name was Karen. Delegate Simpson. I'm sorry. Yes, we'll work with you, as Daniel said, if you want to bring some staff, but we're going to try to limit it to 10.
Right, I'm not trying to bring all, I just, I go one day, we wouldn't go at the same day. You know,
Yeah.
my staff is right now, she's not on this call. She's at a trafficking workshop. So it's like we said, you know, we want to do all of the things. These things are very important. They're very
Correct.
important, especially when we go back. And like I said, I've been, you know, to the prisons, but I've been under as a normal person where we go through the whole thing. And then as a delegate, you know, that was a little different that we went through as, you know, so I just want to make sure that we're doing everything we need to do,
Yeah.
so that we don't hold up the group in any way.
Yeah,
Okay.
delegate, I wrote in the chat that I can work with all the delegates if you guys want to bring a staff member with you above that 10-person limit.
That'll solve the problem.
Multiple ones, that's fine. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Great, that'll solve the problem. I think we're going to give some special status to all the delegates if they want to, you know, with that. You guys are elected officials, you get priority. Thank you. And I'm sorry about the confusion with that. Back to the minutes. Are there any additions, incompletions or anything? Because if not, I'll ask for approval of the minutes. Hearing no suggestions, I will ask for somebody to ask for approval of the minutes.
Move to approve.
Any second?
Second.
Okay. So without, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No nays?
Nice.
Okay. No, and no, any nays? Okay, well, the minutes are officially approved, but you can always call us later and say there's a little something and we can add a comment if you want. Okay, terrific. Thank you. And I got to thank Ainsley for, as usual, for putting these things together. It's a lot of work doing all this and from the video and everything. So thank you, Ainsley. We have our next meeting scheduled for July 3rd, which is really not really good for any of us, I think, because it's a July 4th weekend right there. So we want to consider, we want to have a meeting every month. What would be, would it be the next Thursday would be okay for everybody? I'm trying to look at my calendar here.
So that would be
Okay.
July 10th, is that Thursday, next Thursday.
July 10th for the commission meeting. Would that be good? Okay, we're going to change the July 3rd meeting to the 10th, so everybody can have an excellent and open July 4th weekend, okay? All right, and we'll discuss what we will do between, after we do the discussion of the interim report and stuff. We're going to talk about what we'll start doing after the interim report approval, hopefully. Okay. Well, we did talk about the announcement of the meetings and everybody who's on, maybe a few people joined. You go to the sign up, you can click on each one of these. And Ainsley also sent out an email, and we want everybody to sign up by June 14th because there's background checks and that could take a while. And we were going to limit it to 10, except for the delegates, because they have staff that may want to go or with them or at other dates to make sure they cover all the institutions, and that's terrific, and we'll do that. And Danielle is handling that for us, and any questions about going on these visits, contact Danielle and Ainsley with questions, okay? So,
We stagger those. So like the first one, because it's July 14th, people sign up by June 14th. The next one's July 29th. So sign up by June 29th. Ainsley, can we stagger those? Because that way I can do backgrounds and stuff on a stack. That way it's not all so much of
okay, sign up by a month in advance.
right.
Okay, Ainsley's putting it in there. That's good. Terrific. Good to have these logistics. And okay, so there's one thing that's not on the agenda, but maybe we could add it just as after the discussion interim report. It's next activities for the commission. Okay, so that's they're in the interim report, but let's talk about them a little bit afterward. So discussion and approval of the interim report. Does everybody have a copy of it? It's up on the screen now. And the process that I mentioned in the email, and we met with Bethany Young, who is Chief of Policy Ainsley for the governor, and Ainsley's boss. And as a compliment to all of you who have worked on this, she said this is the best interim report she's seen that she can ever recall. And she said this, obviously there's a lot of work and a lot of expertise is going into this thing. So she was very pleased with it. When we approve it today, it's got to go through a little bit of a process. It's got to be looked at by the office and then maybe tweaked or something in terms of not content, but the format is pretty much what they ask us to do. So that should go. There's a couple of people have to sign off on it in the office before it goes to the governor, to the speaker, and to the president. So, and that is a matter of a couple days, not drawn out over weeks. So we anticipate if we approve it today, that sometime next week, that it will probably go to their desks. Is that correct, Ainsley? Is that what you had understood?
Yes. It just has to go, like you said, through a couple channels, and we try and turn it around as quick as possible.
Okay. So, and I have to thank all of you, and in particular, those who chaired the stakeholders. I mean, Judith is overall chair of the stakeholders group. She was our editor also. So we had, I know when I wrote up stuff, there were typos and things, and she always is excellent with that. So thank you. And she had, of course, a lot of input as well. Andrea, who's on the commission, the higher education group, Diana Bailey, who headed the career tech group, Ainsley, and Danielle, who worked on the ABE GED special ed group. A lot of work into this, so thank you. We couldn't do this, Angie and I couldn't do this without the help of all you. So let's go to the report itself, and there's a couple things that we put in. We put in here the role of the commission, responsibilities. You should know that it's nothing, or you should have seen this before. Just reiterating what the law put into place for us to work. And so if there are any comments as we go, raise your hand or just pipe in and say something. We don't have to be too formal here. Here, I want to make sure everybody's title is correct. Like, for example, Delegate Pasteur, just want to have House of Delegates, or should we put anything more with your title? And the same for you, Delegate Simpson. And Delegate Embry, I don't know if she has her.
I'm fine with what you gave.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else that's listed, let us know and we can quick change that. Okay. And then I guess the next page or so would start the stakeholders. And we don't have Aya Smith's information. We've been trying to get that, but if everybody else is okay with their Ainsley work to try to get all this to be what suits everybody. So if there's any correction, let us know now or quickly after the meeting. No. And we just gave a summary and this little bit of a thing about how many we've had 7 monthly commission meetings already. So we've been meeting for half a year or more. Convened a stakeholders work group for a total of 14 meetings, 6 interviews with state directors of correctional ed. This disseminated a survey to the Correctional Education Association, which got more than 6 state directors to respond to. And we issued data requests, Public Safety, Correctional Services, Department of Labor. So those are our major activities. Okay. Ainsley, next page. Ainsley summarized here the legislative mandate in the schemata, their legislative mandate and work focus, and some early insights summarizing what was things that are in the report. And then after, so for ABGD special ed, and what else? Go ahead if you want to scroll to the next page. And so these are things that that stuck out as really important items in all of the issues we raised: mandatory education, lack of alternative job insights, school closures. Next one, youth transfer from high school to GED with the issue of high school diploma, and that's a COMAR issue, so it'll probably we'll have some recommendation for that in the annual report. So here we are now, and I want Andrea to pay particular attention. If this is the meat of the report. Well, no, we got to go through this then to these are the highlights for higher education. Is that, Angie, correct me here, I was looking at my copy I printed, and ABEGE didn't print out. Is it in the list here after higher education?
This is the ABEGED section that we just went through, and then
Okay. So that's the total, those are our issues as corrected?
these are the issues for the from the adult basic education general. So
Well,
this is the
you know,
ABEGED.
I'm in the editing. I'm a little confused. In the editing, we had a summary. Did we take that out, and then we just came with this?
Oh, I think we took that out.
Okay, that's why I'm confused. Okay,
Okay.
so let's go back to the ABEGED, because there's some issues there that I want to make sure everybody agrees with. So Department of Labor and Public Safety in particular on some of these issues with completions and enrollment. Are there any, I mean, we went through this with all you guys, so I'm hopefully we got everybody's input and corrections and agreement. But if there's anything here that's not accurate, let's get it out and see if we need to correct it. All right, so this is the summary, a total summary of the issues for adult basic education, GED, and special ed. Are there any comments? Even just a comment is fine, but even if there's not a correction, anything. Now these are issues. We're not making recommendations yet. They're early insights. So what we're going to do in the next part, this is a preview for the annual report. From these things, we'll probably come up with some kind of recommendations in the annual report that will go to to legislature, to governor. Okay. Are there any comments? Is everything okay? Danielle and John in particular, are you guys okay with anything said about data from public safety, information, whatever from public safety? I don't know if Alyssa's on, but is the special ed thing okay? These are issues that certain people had in particular. I want to make sure they're okay with it. All right. So I want to move on to the higher education. And Andrea, do you want to lead us through these here just really quick?
Sure, I can do that. Yep. Yeah, so we met last week, I think it was Friday, as a group and went through these, and there were a few minor changes. And then we met again this week, a small group of us, to talk specifically about incentives. So I'm actually really happy with this. I think it looks great. I think, starting with funding as our first issue, we really briefly summarize the two core issues about access to state funding and then funding for operational costs. So I think that's great. One thing about all of these sections is we really highlight what's going well and some of the strengths of higher ed and prison. And then we, talk about remaining issues within each of these areas. So I'm really pleased with it. So we have the funding paragraph, followed by technology, very briefly talking about how students do have some access, but the cost is going to be an issue in the future. Briefly talking about space issues, incentives. Thank you, Danielle Cox, for really taking that and really clarifying it, because that was the one area for our group that was a little bit unclear. And I think this paragraph now, as it reads, is great. You know, again, it talks about how come fall, students who are in college programs, if they don't have another prison job, they will be assigned a job as a college student. So that's really an exciting development that, you know, is up and coming. So that paragraph looks great in my opinion. And then we added at the last minute, a few weeks ago, this reentry support paragraph. And then it's nice, we wrap up with the need for a statewide coordination, which is underway already. So I'm happy that we kind of end on that note. But again, wrapping it up with that last sentence about the need for future funding to just keep this effort going. So I'm pleased with it. Hopefully the members of our group are, and everybody else on the commission is happy with it. But if anyone has any comments, issues, if we're missing anything, please feel free to speak up.
Okay. I think it's terrific. And I listened in on the discussion, incentives and some of the other stuff. And some of the stuff gets into great detail, and things are in process sometimes in some of these issues that we're talking about. So it's not like we're recommending things that aren't happening. Things are happening, but we want to reinforce them or add to them, so that the commission will be in tune with everything. And that's really a good reason why we have so many people working on this. So we pick up what's going on everywhere, so we're informed. So we don't make recommendations that people say, well, that's already been done, or you don't understand the issue. So thank you so much. And Diana Bailey is not here for the Career Tech. Does anybody who worked on that want to pick up on talking about the career technology and workforce development? Ainsley, could you make it a little bigger? Otherwise, I'll have to put my reading glasses on. Is that possible? Okay. So first, anybody want to talk about this? Because I'd like to make sure people on the who know more about this than me might make comments. So there was this issue of transitional instruction, and this is another thing that's in process where we're short on his transitional instructors, and Dollar is looking to add staff members in the coming year, and so so we want to reinforce that and say we found that as an issue and that it needs to be done, because who knows what's going to happen in the next year with budget issues. So we want to be on top of this. Data sharing, we had, this is part of there's another thing going on, Maryland Data Longitudinal Data System Centers working on data sharing, and that's going on with higher education as well. So we've noticed that there was a problem. This committee noticed there was a problem, and in this area, and career tech and workforce development focuses on the data after release that we should be reporting. It's so important for, why have correctional ed if people don't get jobs to get out there and have support to get back into the community? And we can do all we want with making people, HVAC competent or auto competent, but they'll go out and they'll get a job because of something, then the transition's not working. And then, what happens there? They come back and the whole thing, we wasted a lot of money. So this really has to be worked on. It's nobody's fault in particular, but it's really important. Okay. Licensure problems. This is part of the same issue in another way. We have the barber stylist program, for example. They get out after finishing their program behind bars, and they still have to do 300 hours. How they're supposed to do it, nobody knows that. And they need tools, and that can cost up to $1,000. Automotive trades is the same, even worse with the cost of tools for that, as you can imagine. Industries requiring apprenticeship. So how do we get people in that? How do we help them get into this stream to finish all this stuff? It's very important. So and then see that and then this issue of Department of Labor may not offer licensure to returning citizens based on criminal charges. So you don't want to train somebody where they can't get a. Years ago, barbering was a problem, and we just discontinued it. I remember because they couldn't get jobs; they weren't allowed to by the barbering board, the cosmetology board. That's changed, but that still exists in lots of places. People won't hire, or there's some law or some regulation. So the barriers to employment are really a big deal, and it's gonna be something we can't change per se, but we can offer solutions to some of it at least. And so I think this is a very important committee, and there are things that we can do to recommend probably for legislatively here in these areas. So, and what do we got next to bear? Okay, so our stopping here for a minute. Are there any additions or comments on the issues that were raised in any of these three areas? Because this is the meat of our report. I want to make sure people feel pretty good. And I know that the delegates have made comments on this in reference to legislation. So if Delegate Simpson and Delegate Pasteur care to make some comments on any of these, that'd be great. Do you have any thoughts on some of these that reflect legislative issues?
I'm looking. No,
We're getting a double sound there somehow.
I know that the staff would be happy to provide that.
that's because I'm on two different modes trying to move around while I'm listening. I'm multitasking.
So go ahead and see if you can, if you want to offer some comments, go ahead. Delegate Simpson?
I would just say, I think the report is fantastic. You all did just a great job. It would be interesting to get a list of different careers that would that either prohibit or make it difficult, and we can look at that and see whether or not that needs to be done at the licensing level, or if it needs to be done at a legislative level. But it seems like it's something we'd all have to look a little further into, and what would be, the assurances and things like that,
I think this is a terrific suggestion for next activities for this committee. And I know I've seen these things in the past with a list of, people collect these prohibitions and these regulations and things. So it's available on a national level. So on the state level, I suppose people like John, who's on our commission, and Danielle may have suggestions right away about where we can find some of these things. I think you guys have probably seen those and as well. So this is an activity that we really need to jump on right away.
Right.
Okay.
And sadly, society is, it's too reactive. It's just because you have I'm a program manager. Are they going to decide if I do something, I have one bad day and do something horrible that no program managers could ever, do whatever? It's something we need to look at. It's something that we need to make sure that, who has the powers to do these things and how well. Because obviously, if we have a program and we're trying to train people to be able to get out into the world and make a difference, and then they do this great job and they hit this hard stop, does this make sense? Is this a realistic restriction that protects society, or are we just preventing from people to do their best?
Okay. All right. So, okay. So, do we have any more on that list? Is that was the last one, I think, right? Now we're in the commission-wide focus of technology. Just in general, we know that's an issue for both adult basic ed, GED, higher ed, and for career tech too. We also, one of our activities we're going to do is look at an administrative model. We're going to do much more research to see if how we can strengthen a model delivery system. That's what the name of the commission is, Reform Prison Education Delivery. So we're going to be doing that as a next activity. Data collection and sharing. We have a discussion going on the database, and in fact, we are going to have a meeting. Did we set the date for the meeting for this, Ainsley and John? Department of Labor, and we want to set a meeting within the next 2 weeks, if that's possible, to talk about the database, because we have a difference of opinion about what's going on between DoIT and Department of Labor, what's happening with the collection of data and the use of data. And we want to find out what the problem is and where the breakdown is in collecting and then publishing and using data, because there's a lot more data apparently being collected than is being used. So we talked at one of our meetings recently with AB, GED, special ed, to have a meeting with the database manager, James Roden, is it? And with Department of Labor, John and Rochelle. So can we say that we're going to set a meeting here within the next 2 weeks, or can we even do that right now? And it will be a meeting to be open to everybody. We'll probably set it up like this. Those people are involved. We'll talk, and those people can watch and ask questions later.
We can't set the date right now because I don't have access to Jim at the moment, but we can do it shortly after this meeting.
What's Jim's full name? You mentioned Jim and everything.
Yeah, Bowden, James Bowden, B-O-D-E-N.
James Bowden, but I thought you had, there's another guy named Ben that works in your office on this stuff too.
Yeah,
Ben?
we have a Benjamin Murad who assists. He's Rochelle's special assistant.
Okay, so I don't know if you've been on that meeting or not, but okay. All right, well, let's try this. Ainsley and I will make sure we'll have communications with you guys, and we'll put out a date to everybody. We'll have a Zoom meeting like this, and it'll be within the next 2 weeks because we need to jump on this issue. Okay, thank you, John. Next, so here's our future activity. So I guess, what we've done a lot of work, and I don't want to keep driving you people. I might get, might be having too many meetings too often, whatever, because you have lots to do, but you've given so much time already. But these are the things that we need to do. We're going to have public forums. That's part of the law. So in addition to the visits, we'll set up a forum. We're doing the visits. Okay. So now, and on the third item, there are presentations on best practices. We're going to utilize the information we have from the state directors around the country and their survey. And I have a promise from the RAND Corporation, which is mentioned in the law, helping us to give us some pro bono work. Lois Davis, who's the chief researcher on recidivism and the value of education. And those are landmark studies that she's done. She's done a lot of work in correctional ed and has information to share with us on models. She will help us. So we're going to be doing more work there. The collaboration of the Maryland Longitudinal Data Systems Center and the Task Force on Creation of Returning Citizens Expanded Reentry Services. We want to look at that more, how that fits into what we're doing. And so at the end, we will, for the annual report, we'll develop a list of recommendations to submit to the governor and the General Assembly. I want to see if we can do that, since we've been working so well, by the middle of November, because I don't know, Delegate Simpson, Delegate Pasteur, now that you're on, I mean, you start looking at legislation well before the January opening of the legislature. So if we have some recommendations that require some kind of legislative effort, and what's realistic? I mean, you don't want them on December 31st, that's for sure. What does that mean to you?
May I jump in here?
Absolutely.
Okay, sure. Great question. And I don't know how far behind I am trying to multitask, which clearly I can't do. But the whole let me look at special education. Can I talk about special education compliance? Yeah, really something has to go in here. I can certainly see some legislation in terms of compliance, what is being done, how past records are acquired and assessed, how the needs are being met. Many of the same things that are of concerns for those who are not incarcerated are still very important and probably doubled once one is incarcerated, because I'm seeing situations where it really looks like some who are incarcerated are not giving their best, doing their best, and there's no link to what their needs actually are. So we do need to have far more conversations about that and possible legislation there. And I hope I'm still in the area where you are.
Well, that's terrific. So, Delegate Simpson, do you have any comments in this area? What would be, I mean, if we said try to get it done before Thanksgiving instead of after. See, I was saying November 30th before, but then we get to Thanksgiving and then we're gonna have a few days afterwards. So why not just before Thanksgiving, try to get our annual report done? Is that helpful?
So when you're talking about dates of interest, typically it is during the summer into the fall that we are looking at legislation and trying to get exactly what we're doing right now. If you have repeat legislation, things that every year that we've been trying to get accomplished or is important to education, those things can be put in as early as November 1st. That is the date that we put in legislation that's called pre-filed. Personally, I like to make sure that we have all the players and that we know what opposition and everything. So the last date, of course, is that 10th day into session. And we don't want to do that, but if something really comes up that is important, we can do it up until that 10th day of session. Preferably, I think most of us, the goal is, as you said, that we know going into session after, let's say, Thanksgiving into December, we know what we're hoping to accomplish if you want it to get done that particular session. Was that helpful in dates or ideas?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of things, as you said, like we're doing right now. I mean, you and Delegate Pasteur and Delegate Embry could start taking some of these issues right away if you thought they were important, and then we will continue working on them, and maybe in the end we'll all be cheerleaders for what you're putting in. So, I mean, I guess the implication is you can take things from what we're doing now, and if they're important enough issues like special ed, for example, it just mentioned.
Yeah.
Now, money wise, we want, so you have on a quarterly basis, and you got a lot of people on here are state employees, and I'm, daytime state employee. So, financially, and a lot of these things are looking at the financial, we should start talking, and the agencies need to be putting in, we should be making recommendations to them regarding what they should be adding. You talked, if you're going, we went from 3,000 to 600 people in these programs, and labor is saying, hey, we need the staffing. Do they already have the positions in place and it's a matter of hiring, or is this a matter of requesting? So once again, that's something you would be doing now. You would be doing it prior to July 1st and ready, so that they can be doing that presentation to the appropriations and they can include that in their report. But none of that stuff is new. You have high caliber people on this, not including us, who already know about the budgeting process and what they would need to do. But what they would need, I guess the only question is what specifically would they need from this body, to make those requests, I guess is more the question.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we're recommending already in our issues, in our discussions, we're opening up the issues that, they gave us some shortages here, or we have, correctional officer shortages is one of them we don't specifically mention, but it really impinges upon the program, and that we have a lot of closures. So, I mean, maybe one of the things we can recommend is to have a task force to get more correctional officers hired. I mean, I don't know how, I mean, I'm sure they're doing all kinds of things already to try to do that. It's difficult, but we have issues here that I mean, we will probably come up with some kind of recommendations on administrative structure on improving it from our discussions, but that will probably be in the annual report, unless one of the delegates wants to do something earlier. So
And
go ahead, Delegate Pester.
yeah, I'm already looking at, again, the special education and professional development for teachers, relating that to the correctional officers. What does that look like? What does their training look like? I would like to see some action on that. So I'm moving on that as we speak. I would like to see some action well before we get to the final report. I would like the final report to reflect what changes have been made, whether it's legislative or just HR. So this is fine. So yeah, Karen Delegate Simpson gave out our time frame, but I think during this time period, we will be working on some of these things.
Okay, so do you want the commission to work with you as you're doing it?
Yes, let me just jump right in. Absolutely, without equivocation.
Okay, so we're available. Ainsley and I will work directly with you and with Delegate Simpson and Delegate Embry on anything you want to do, as we are working with the commission, and then bring it back to the commission, so that they know what's going on and can discuss it, and that the commission can get behind it. So that's terrific. Yeah, that helps. I feel much better now, because I hate this trying to get an annual report in soon enough with recommendations that the legislature could take care of, but already the delegates are getting, and the senators are getting ready long before that, our report. So this is a way we can, be very flexible, and then in the report, get it out November 15th, and that'll help somewhat. Because you said December 1st is where you usually try to get stuff put in, but it can go to the 10th day of the session, but you don't want to do it then. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, this is good. So, what I'd like to do, and Judith is on here as the head of the stakeholders, we will try to convene. I don't think we can do it here. Try to get the work groups to work on these issues again. And we've been having sometimes weekly meetings, and then sometimes a couple members meet a couple times a week. Try to meet, like no more than every 2 weeks, and have each committee decide whether they want to meet 2 weeks or 1 month. So afterwards, let's Ainsley and I and Karen and Judith and Diana Bailey can pick a date, and Danielle, since you're on the AV thing, pick dates for the work group meetings to get going again. And I would like to try to set those dates here in the next week, and then maybe start having one, at the end of this month, and then at least before 4th of July with work groups to get them to orient themselves on these issues, because there's a lot more work to be done on each of these issues. So does that work okay for everybody? We'll pick it. You'll set up your time for your work groups to meet some more. Andrea, Danielle, since you're here and working with Ainsley and I, and I can't speak for Diana, but we'll send a note out to you when you want to have your next meetings, and set those up. And then each group will pick up on its issues, with the idea that you're going to refine tune these things and do more activities, whatever, and maybe come up with recommendations, working with delegates, Simpson and Pasteur and Embry, on things they may want to bring forward earlier out of your issues. So I think this is terrific. Does this sound like a plan? Okay. And of course, we have all these visits and things going on here too, so we're busy. And like Delegate Simpson said, we have these high-level people on the commission here, like John, who's going to be involved with the budget process, and they're going to be doing some work. And Danielle at Public Safety, on behalf there. So this is good. And we have representatives from various cabinet positions that, can be very important in this effort as well. So are we at the end of the report here?
Yes.
So we have to vote on accepting this report and then sending it to the governor, to the Speaker of the House, and to the President of the Senate. So the best way to do this, since this is important, is I don't know how we can't do it. What's the best way to do it? Just
Did we want to do like a roll call vote?
Well, I will still give you the number
yeah, I hear some background.
right now.
Somebody's got something else on. Okay. Okay, let's go through a roll call on everybody here. I think that's the best way. Is that fair for everybody to say yay, nay? Okay. You want to go through the list that as you have it, Ainsley?
Yes.
So the vote is, do you accept this report, yay or nay? And I guess you can say no, want to vote on it if you don't feel one way or the other on it, but you gotta say yes or no. And okay, go for it.
Amanda Owens. Yay. Andrea Cantora.
Yay.
Delegate Pasteur.
Yes. Yay.
Christian Gant.
Yay.
Danielle Cox.
Yay.
Delegate Simpson.
Yay, great job.
Gordon Pack.
Yay.
Initia Latau.
Yay.
John Feaster.
Yay.
Karen. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to pronounce your last name.
Hysteric. Yay.
Okay, awesome. Meredith Conde
Yay.
and Dr. Sir.
Yay.
Perfect. That it passes.
So we have a unanimous vote. That's terrific. I think that reflects the fact that we all worked on it and we got all the kinks out of it ahead of time. And that's wonderful. So I hope it's an example of openness and, inclusiveness. Not a good word to use it sometimes nowadays on the national level, but I think it's great that we have everybody involved and everybody has their say. So, so I guess that's it. We have a unanimous approval. Okay. So we can open it up for, we have a little bit of time still. Can we open it up? I guess we have a half hour. We did a pretty fast meeting today. Can we open it up to the other people who are watching if they want to ask questions, or anybody on the commission? Is that okay? Can you do that, Ainsley?
Yes.
So let us know when they're all open.
Everybody has gotten the invite if they want to join.
Okay, so you have to click on the invite, and if you want to say something, go ahead. To make sure we get input from all these other folks, our work group members who had a lot to say on this report. No. Any questions? Any comments?
Gordon has his hands up.
Go for it, Gordon.
No question, but I do have a comment. I just want to say this is an honor for me. I am very, I guess, overwhelmed by this opportunity because so many people from different spaces are coming together and really putting work in on something that's so crucial. Everybody's doing a phenomenal job. They really are. And I think that you, Steve, you're a great chairperson. You're doing really great. And I just wish I could be more like you in this respect. I do. Thank you.
That's very nice of you to say that. And I say back to you and all the others how well this has gone. And I was afraid we'd get into some, we have had our disagreements, but we go through this and we get through it smoothly because we listen to each other. And I think you're an example of why we do this. You've come out of this terrible system that needs repair and have become an exemplary citizen father, every worker, everything. So congratulations to you. And we have 4 or 5 other people who have been on the work group who are, and also on this commission, who are returned citizens who, and you're the reason we do this. We see that everybody can be a productive, positive citizen, and that's what we're doing this for. Some more comments, please.
Well, may I jump in?
Absolutely.
Okay. I want to follow Gordon by saying just how impressed I am here, because there are people from different agencies, different backgrounds, all giving their input. And I now have been a legislator long enough to know that we get reports, interim reports, final reports, and a lot of them don't get read. But I do know that the 3 delegates on here will make sure that they get read. What I really appreciate is how open those to whom I've reached out to ask questions offline or to meet with have been just so exceedingly helpful, because very often we make laws, no follow-up, and don't know whether they're really working or not. And let me reiterate that, don't know whether they're working or not, the changes that are in the reports. So what this interim does is it says that we know that there's some problems and we need to look at it. The last meeting, I believe it was John Feaster III, who pointed out and was not going to let go conversations. And you don't, none of you let things just go down the drain. And we have to move on because something has to change. This bill is here, this law is here because the system has issues. It's a hot mess, okay? And it's just wonderful. I know that was not a real legal term, hot mess, but what we've got to make these changes. So I thank folks. I always say I don't call people out, so I won't call them out, but thank the folks. And we have some interesting people who are coming on the parole board. I think immediately of Dr. Moorheim. And I'm asking folks to reach out to him because he wants to make a difference. I'm just so pleased to be on here and to see an interim that has teeth, that says, not perfect, but we're in this to try to get as close to it as possible. Thank you for giving me this time.
Well, thank you for everything and your keen interest and Delegate Simpson's and Embry's keen interest. And don't forget Delegate Ampry, who was the sponsor of this bill in the first place and who stays very closely in touch with us, even though you can't make a lot of the meetings. And so I think we have at least 4 terrific delegates who are going to support the activities of this commission and bring them forward to the legislature. So it's so important. So
thank you.
Got more hands up?
Yeah, I think I'll go next. I just wanted to say thank you to the commission, obviously, and on behalf of labor. I hope that we've expressed that we are absolutely in it to win it. We're certainly here and open to suggestions and for what it's worth, to Delegate Pastor's comments, anything that we can implement now, we want to implement now. There are a certain level of political sensitivities and certainly budget concerns and constraints that we have to operate around. But anything that we can implement to increase our output, our efficiency, our productivity with what we already have in place, we're certainly open to. And just even though we don't always see eye to eye, there are certainly different ways that we can work through the things that we disagree on. But again, I think that we all agree that there is progress to be made. And again, I just appreciate everybody's willingness to work through it and And Stephen, I think you said it best. You know, even though we disagree, we still all come together, you know, for our shared cause here that we're all here working toward.
Good. Thank you. Anybody else? The
I think Anne had her hand up before. me.
yeah, go ahead.
So 3 years ago today, I was sitting in MCIW as part of the first group going through Project Fresh and kind of looking at all of these problems from the inside and trying to figure them out, and writing it down. And I came home with kind of like a list of like, these are the things I've tried and these are the things that I feel like aren't working. And I didn't know that there was a whole lot of hope to move those things forward, but I showed up at Major and I wanted to try. So Steve, I really want to thank you for uplifting our voices. We worked together to get this commission in the first place. And I really appreciate your advocacy and all of the hard work that you've done on this, because otherwise it would just be something, it could just be something sitting in my files that I typed out on a prison typewriter. And to everybody that is sitting here right now, I know that you're all busy and I know that there's 1,000 problems. And I know you probably have your emails probably stuck on 99 plus like mine is right now, and so I want to thank you for showing up. Yeah, I see that. I want to thank you for showing up and investing more time than would have been required to produce something that's not just meeting the criteria and passing it on so it can get shoved under somewhere else, but really producing something spectacular together that can make an impact, that can make a difference. And like, this was all I could have hoped for 3 years ago as I'm like sitting on my bunk trying to type this stuff out. And so I want to thank everybody here for making this possible.
Well, you're another reason why we do this. You've been so contributory, or if that's the right word, so energetic and so sincere, and with your skill and intelligence have just given us information that we wouldn't know otherwise. And that's important. And John Griffin, I don't know if he's on, and others who are out now from having experienced this and sharing back. Because a lot of times people get out and that's it, and then they don't. But you guys you've taken it on as something important for yourself as well, and that's good.
So just really quick on behalf of Secretary Scruggs, just want to, thank you all. And this is a much needed and such a great group of people together. And, I've said it before, but just to call out like Anne, Karen, Gordon, Adam, John, Christian, like all of your work looking at from both, what you went through and saw on the inside, and now taking the time to be able to help support those people who are still inside while you are working towards your goals post-release. I just want to give a massive thank you to all of you. You're the ones, the faces that we see so much of, and you're so passionate. And, this is why I do what I do, is because of you guys. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Wait, there's not other hands up, Ainsley? I can't see them.
Delegate Simpson.
Yes, I want to make sure that we thank everyone on this call that for someone who's been in state employee for over 30 some years, I have sat on so many, and I know others here sat on so many commissions and groups in which they did not include the people that we were expected to help. And so we're all this high level thinking, and I was always one like, well, as someone who is a survivor, and it's like, where are these folks? Where are these voices? Because you're not going to have a really good outcome if you don't actually have the people and, that you're trying to serve. And I'm so glad that we've made sure on this commission to have those voices, to have those experiences, so that we're actually really, truly fixing the system, improving the system, rather than, just putting another coat of paint on it. I value all of your voices and where we're going, and definitely listen when, you're throwing out that yellow, red, orange flag saying, whoa, that's not the road. That's really when we need to we need to stop and make sure that the only way for this to work is for your voices to be louder than ours, and that we are just serving you. And I hope every one of you knows that that's truly our role, is to serve you, and that your voices are so much more important because of your experiences.
Thank you. Anybody else with their hand up? Let me say, I was a public school teacher in Chicago and in Washington, D.C. And when I decided to, one of the big problems is students couldn't read. I was in schools that were underachieving. And so I started taking courses at the University of Maryland, and just to become a better reading teacher for students. I was a history teacher, I was an English teacher, I was an Italian teacher, but I had kids who couldn't read English or history very well. So in the process of doing this, I ended up in a doctoral program for reading disabilities. And one day, my professor came up to me. I didn't have much money. I had to stop teaching, take an assistantship, and worried where the rent was next month. And one of my professors said, they've got a problem over in corrections in Maryland, and they need some help with fixing this Title I program. Do you want to work there for a while? I said, no, I don't want to work at a prison. He said, they're paying $100 a day. Well, that was back in the 70s. And $100 a day that was a pretty good pay then. He said, I'll be there tomorrow. And so I went in part-time, and I was amazed going around and seeing students. And I saw some that I knew from the high school in DC that I taught at. But I was really impressed on how many of the students wanted to learn. And I just started training teachers how to work with people who had reading problems. And I just got involved, and then I finished my doctorate, did a dissertation in the area, and got hired as a resource teacher. Never looked back. Never went back to public schools, and so it's been my life's work. And I'm really honored at my age to be able to do something useful. I'm in a widowers group, and older people, and a lot of people don't know what to do with themselves, and they don't know where to volunteer and do things. And I volunteered with Major. I have to thank Major for all the work they do. A terrific job. Judith is on the board. And so we did this advocacy, and just to share how, when you get old, and I'm 81, when you get old and you go advocate, people listen to you. But damn well they're saying, well, that's old guy. What does he know? Everything's changed, or things are different. But now that I'm in this position, to be actually, talking to people that know things, it's a real great honor for me to do something that I think is going to make some effect and make some change on something I'm wholeheartedly interested in. So thank you for the honor and the opportunity, and I will try to work this thing as long as people want me to. We have till 2029 before this commission expires. So who knows how this is going to evolve, but I think it's going to evolve in a very positive way, very constructive way. So thank you for all of you for all your hard work. I'm just sort of managing this thing. You guys are coming up with all the ideas and all the thoughts and the thoughtful recommendations and issues. So thank you so much. I guess it's too long of a spiel, but that's how I feel. Yeah. Are there any more comments? Because we're 11:15, and I want to thank everybody. And Ainsley, do you have any comments?
Nope. Great work, everybody. Thank you so much for all of the writing and the experience that everybody has brought. I'm super excited about this report and look forward to continuing to work on this with everybody.
And I couldn't do anything of this without Ainsley. She keeps me, I forget things, or things don't work, and she's there. And as you all know, and you can see how supportive and excellent she is at doing her job. So she's got a terrific professional life in front of her. I'm just glad to be working with her, and I don't want to lose her. I hope she can stay with us, as long as possible. So thank you, Ainsley, for all your hard work. And we'll be talking and setting up more meetings and things to come. So we're going to forward the report, and then we'll go through it, and we'll send it out to everybody, I guess, once it's approved in its final form, because I don't know how much it's going to change in format, but the content is there. Thank you so much. And I don't know who would like to say something to finish off here. You know, want to maybe Delegate Pastor, Delegate Simpson, or somebody would like to say a word to, you know, as to end this today. Any future comments? Anything?
How about if we ended it with, you know, some of the people we're trying to serve and see, you know,
That's a great idea.
let them send us off into making a difference.
Gordon, and who else is on today? Who else is? I don't see the list.
Well, I'll give you something. The interim report is exactly what it is. It's interim. So this is just the beginning of the work. This is the first step. So thank you, as I said, for everybody for making it this far. And I absolutely look forward to seeing what we are going to produce so we can show some real results on the final report.
Great.
I'll jump
Gordon,
in here too, and I'll just say that I know that the kind of work that we do, I've been working in the HEP space for 10 years. This year will be 10 years since my release. When you're on the inside, it makes a really big difference knowing that there's a group of people doing this work on the outside. It's really sometimes the only thing that gets you through. So I know I can't speak for the people on the inside, but I kind of feel like I can a little bit. So as much as I can, I just want to say thank you on behalf of everybody that's still inside and on those days need a little bit more hope. They know that we're out here doing this work and it really, really matters to them. Thanks.
thank you. Gordon?
Yes, let me share this also because I think this is a good story for everybody to hear as well. I was one of the guys who completed a college extension program before they took the Pell Grants. All of these credits, 118 credits towards my bachelor's degree. Unfortunately, when they took the Pell Grant out, all the universities, colleges, they pulled out. And there wasn't a means for me to continue to get my degree. Fortunately, Morgan State University, they honored that. They accepted 118 of those credits, even though it was way back when. They accepted 118 and they enrolled me in a program where I can continue pursuing my degree. Now, I feel blessed to have that opportunity, but I know there are dozens of other people who were in that same boat that didn't get that opportunity. But it only comes from this type of activity. It's the only way that took place. If it wasn't for this, I don't think I would be in that position. I would just have those dead credits and they'd have been gone away and I had to start over again because that's what they were pushing for at first. They're so old, you got to start over again. I'm like, wow. But I just wanted to share that.
Well, you're going to get your degree and it's well deserved. And thank you for everything. And who else? Do we have any others on today? It was John Griffin and who else? Who are the other? Who's the other person? The fifth person? Because we have 5 people who are
Jamil Freeman, but I don't think he's here.
right. Okay. Well, congratulations to all 5 people for their work and for becoming what you've become. You know, just terrific people. So, okay, with that, thank you. And the next commission meeting will be in July 10th, and there'll be some more meetings announced. We'll make some arrangements, Angie and I. And so, thank you so much. This has been terrific and much more stuff to come, good stuff to come. Have a great week.